This is an analysis of I'm a prefect.
Are you going to move?
That's an exclusion.
Oh, really? He's filming it.
I am.
And then you're lying whilst he's filming it. I've never seen anything so daft in my life.
Our setting is the top of a stairwell at an undisclosed secondary school, yet it is here where our nation's lack of spiritual authority is laid bare. Our central character, the prefect, is a tragic figure whom, over the course of this, realizes that the authority bestowed unto him is meaningless and hollow, and he himself is just another symptom of the decline of Western civilization.
I'm going to lie about something. Oh, but my friend here's got it on camera. So everything I've just said can be proven wrong by my Bezzy mate. Yay, that's intelligent, isn't it?
The prefect is attempting to preempt and mimic the response of his opponents. In doing so, he sarcastically puts into question their intelligence, but this is a tactic being deployed because he recognizes his lack of authority. He is a false authority figure who cannot call upon any divine patriarch to provide him any legitimacy. Instead, all he can do is try to mock those he wishes to command, and in doing so, he himself becomes the subject of ridicule. The lads here are laughing, both at him and the false authority structure that placed someone, like the prefect, unnaturally above them in the hierarchy.
You're going to move now. Now I'm giving you a laugh. Can you go? Just go.
The prefect, upon seeing the laughter from those he seeks to rule over, attempts to claim ownership of that laughter. He tries to make himself not the punchline, but the comedian making it. But this is a transparent attempt, and as soon as he makes it, he leans over the stairwell as though he's about to end it all.
Go. Outside or that way?
Oh God.
What are you doing, Nana?
Because he's not a bellend like you.
And...
The prefect decides not to throw himself off the stairwell and instead appeals again for the party to leave. But these lads are defiant. They recognize false godless authority and seek, through their ridicule, to topple it in favour of the reinstatement of power which is more divine in nature. The prefect and his voice break upon shouting the word and we are put in mind of a secular tyrant being overthrown by the superstitious peasant folk he has sought to exercise control over.
Go in rage mode.
Rage mode? I'd still take you... Oh, he'd take you both on rage mode. Fucking hell.
The prefect is visibly showing signs of fear now. He has nothing to combat their strength as a group, and so he bites his nails, desperately trying to think of a way in which he can dominate the situation.
Go.
So,
Sick time.
right, give me 3 reasons why we should go.
1, I've been told by the science department to stand here and stop people from, like you, doing what you're doing.
What do you mean, people?
The illegitimacy of the prefect's authority is laid out in the open here. The science department has no deference to God or any divine being that's going to judge them long after they've shed their mortal coil. Instead, the science department is a hollow simulacrum of authority. It's a facade, and this prefect is nothing but a fraud. His authority is grounded in something spiritually meaningless as he flounders to further arguments as to why the party should leave. He comes to the realization that the role he has been given does not put him above his fellow man in any hierarchy except one which is artificial.
What are you trying to say?
Taking the mick.
Yeah, we are.
Disobeying school rules. Being a pain in my behind.
As the prefect cites the disobeyment of school rules as the reason why the lads have behaved in bad character, one of them smiles, laughs. The school rules have no command over his soul, over his essence, and the prefect's display of false authority makes the lad confident in his mockery of these godless school rules.
Out my face now, before I'd fucking drop kick you down them stairs. I just made you step back, didn't it?
The prefect attempts to assert physical dominance. He tries to intimidate, locking his opponent in the eyes, but the lad remains strong, confident in his ability to dismiss false authority not just verbally, but physically if needs be. The prefect is taken aback by his courage. He's running out of options, his position becoming more and more desperate.
You're going to move. Are you going to go outside and enjoy the nice weather?
No, you take.
You sound like a 90-year-old man.
It's grey sky out there, you. Do you go out in your mankini in that weather?
The lads point out how this false authority figure has become so out of touch with reality that he isn't even aware of the weather around him. They immediately discredit his assertion of nice weather. This is not the prefect's castle. Instead, he must share it with the local townsfolk, lest he be the one ejected out into the wilderness.
No, but it's British weather. It's probably the best you're going to get for a while. So you're going to move? Or you're going to go downstairs?
Neither.
And you're going to go outside?
I like it here, mate.
The more the prefect flounders, the more the lads he's desperately trying to appeal to become confident of their residency in the science block. They like it here, mate. And just like the proud colonialists before them, they will topple all false authority that seeks to oppose them in this warm and foreign land.
Well, you're not allowed.
Why is this?
School rules.
The prefect decries that they are not allowed to remain, but a lad asks a question that will destroy the prefect's standing. Why is this? Why is this? The question is met by a long pause from the prefect, before he sheepishly replies with, "School rules. School rules." He has no argument, and he's desperately clinging onto these godless school rules for validation of his own meaningless position.
Why are they enforced?
Because without them, more people like you lot would exist, and then no one would ever get a job.
What do
ever.
you mean people like?
What are you going to do as a job?
I'm going to work something in video games, like animation, or animation in general.
The tyrant attempts to set himself yet again above the local village folk, but this is a paper crown, and the throne he sits upon is made out of video games and shame.
Sad.
Yeah, at least I'll get it. And I think you should try harder.
Get out his face.
The lads offer sympathy and compassion to the prefect, yet he meets that with insults. "At least I'll get a job," he cries, attempting to cast these noble savages off into the wastebin of life. This is a desperate tactic. He is trying to make it so that if they don't lick the boot, if they don't bend to his false authority, and other false authority figures in life, then they are doomed. And the way Western civilization is going, he's probably right, except these proud young men, these based young men, would rather die than show deference to a system that stands without God's presence.
Your breath stinks.
I'll get a job.
Your breath stinks like cat piss.
Well, then you better move away from my stench. Now go! Or fart, that'll make you move.
You fart.
The prefect has exhausted his verbal argument, so much so that he resorts to using his very biological functions as a method of expelling these people from his presence. This really is a case study in how false authority disintegrates when placed under pressure.
What is wrong with you?
You want to laugh? You want to laugh at something? I'll do something so crazy you'll have to laugh.
What? Jump off there.
No.
The prefect tries to appeal to their sense of humour, but nothing short of his demise will bring these lads to concede that he was anything other than a figure of ridicule.
What are you going to do? What are you going to have to laugh? What?
Yeah, see, you're going to laugh at that, aren't you?
No. What was
Yeah, you
that?
laugh.
What did he say? What did he say?
Glad you laughed and go.
What did he say?
Go.
A bizarre display. The prefect's glib mastery of English has failed him so much that he resorts to inventing his own language on the fly in order to try and persuade. Bizarre, yet tragic, all at the same time.
Yes, I've won. Go outside.
No, now we're not going.
The prefect's thin mask of authority has all but been shattered, and in the upcoming sequence we see him taking one last stand. Every fibre of his being is working to reinstate control over these lads, and as we shall see, all to no avail.
Not quite fucking anywhere.
Move! No!
What the fuck?
I'm getting really sick of you! Get out now! No! Get out! Get out now!
The prefect screams into the camera's lens, and it's during this rage that he realizes something. He realizes that he's about to be immortalized forever as a definitive case of how false authority crumbles when challenged.
No! Go! Go! Why me? Go! All four of you! Go! Go! Move! Move like it's World War III! Move! Move! No!
Move like it's World War III. The prefect is trying to liken this relatively trivial event to something on a far grander scale. He's attempting to incite fear. He's attempting to make out that he's a nuclear weapon. And if they are not careful, then they will be the Hiroshima of this world war.
Go! Go! Move!
Hold on, Isaac, hold the door!
This video predates the Hodor Game of Thrones revelation by a considerable number of years, so it's nice to know that HBO have watched I'm a Prefect along with the rest of us.
Oi, Grady, it's 10 past, we can stay now.
I'm sick of it! No!
Rage and anger and desperation. The prefect is a tragic character. This is his crescendo, his last resort. But because he stands apart from God, then this attempt is futile.
No! No! No!
Drop him, Henry!
Get out of my face.
The lad has had enough. He's having no more of this, and so he extends his arm to keep the prefectian tyrant at bay. This is the moment where the lad claims victory, and the prefect can only hyperventilate upon the realization of his own defeat.
Yeah, go down there now.
No! I'm a prefect!